Chapter 5. The Door. I tried desperately to absorb every word these men had spoken to me. Never had wisdom said so much to me at once. Yet I felt that every sentence was crucial, and I did not want to forget anything. I thought about how good it would be to have his words carved in stone like Moses did, and to carry the words of the Lord to his people in such a way that they could be preserved untainted by me. Again, knowing my thoughts, wisdom answered them. This is the difference between the old covenant and the new. You will write my words in a book, and they will inspire my people. Even so, the true power of my words can only be seen when they are written in the hearts of my people. Living epistles are more powerful than letters written on paper or stone. Because you are not writing scripture, the words you write will have you in them. Even so, your books will be as I desire them to be, because I prepared you for this task. They will not be perfect, because perfection will not come to the earth until I come. For perfection, men will have to look to me. Even so, my people are the book that I am writing, and the wise can see me in my people and in their works. My Father sent me into the world because he loves the world, and I am sending my people into the world because I love the world. I could have judged the world after my resurrection, but the course of the world was allowed to continue so that my righteous ones could be proven and the power of what I did on the cross would be seen in all mankind. I did this because of love. You are the witnesses of my love. This is my commandment to you. Love me and love your neighbor. Only then will your witness be true. Even when I command you to speak of my judgments, it must be in love. The life of every person is in my book, and their lives are the book that will be read by all creation for all eternity. The history of the world is the library of God's wisdom. My redemption is the demonstration of our love, and the cross is the greatest love that the creation will ever know. Even the angels who stand before my Father so love the story of redemption that they too long to dwell with men. They marveled when we made man in our image. They marveled when man chose evil, even in the midst of paradise we had made for man. Now, because of redemption, the marred image of God is restored and is revealed even more glorious in mankind. The glory is still in earthen vessels, which makes the glory easier to see for those who have eyes to see. This is the new creation that is greater than the first creation. Through my new creation, we are making a new paradise that is greater than the first paradise. Every man, woman, and child that embraces my redemption is a book that I am writing, which will be read forever. Through the new creation, we will also restore the former creation, and it will be a paradise again. I will restore all things, and all evil will be overcome with good. My church is the book that I am writing, and the whole world is about to read it. Until now, the world has wanted to read the book that the evil one has written about my church. But soon I will release my book. I am about to release my last day prophets. I will have many like Paul, John, Peter, and the others. To prepare them, I am sending many like John the Baptist, who will teach them devotion to me and lay a foundation of repentance in their lives. These apostles will also be like John the Baptist, just as the chief joy of John's life was to hear the voice of the bridegroom. These will have one devotion, to see my bride made ready for me. Because of this, I will use them to build highways through the wilderness and rivers through the deserts. They will bring down the high places and rise up the lowly. When you go through that door, you will meet them. I am about to release my last day prophets. They will love me and walk with me, even as Enoch did. They will demonstrate my power and prove to the world that I am the one true God. Each will be a pure well from which only living water flows. At times, their water will be hot for cleansing. At times, it will be cold for refreshing. I will also give them lightning in one hand and thunder in the other. They will soar like eagles over the earth, but they will descend on my people like doves, because they will honor my family. They will come upon cities like whirlwinds and earthquakes, but they will give light to the meek and lowly. When you go through that door, you will also meet them. I am about to release my last day evangelists. I will give them a cup of joy that will never run out. They will heal the sick and cast out devils. They will love me and love righteousness. They will carry their crosses every day, not living for themselves but for me. Through them, the world will know that I live and that I have been given all authority and power. These are the fearless ones who will attack the gates of the enemy and raid the dark places of the earth, leading many to salvation. These two are just beyond that door, and you will meet them. I'm about to release shepherds who will have a heart for my sheep. These will feed my sheep because they love me. They will care for each of my little ones as if they were their own, and they will lay down their own lives for my sheep. This is the love that will touch men's hearts, when my people lay down their lives for one another. Then the world will know me. I have given these choice food to serve my household. These are the faithful ones that I will trust to watch over my own house. These, too, are beyond that door, and you will meet them. I'm about to release my last day teachers upon the earth. They will know me and teach my people to know me. They will love the truth. They will not retreat before the darkness, but they will expose it and drive it back. They will unstop the wells that your fathers dug and serve the pure waters of life. They will also carry out the treasures of Egypt and use it to build my dwelling place. You will meet these too just beyond that door. As the Lord spoke, I looked at the door, and now, for the first time, I wanted to go through it. Each word he had spoken brought a rising expectation in my heart, and I badly wanted to meet these last day ministers. You have known in your heart for many years that these are coming. I have brought you here to show you how to recognize them and help them on their way. I went through the door.
Chapter 6. The Prison.
Suddenly, I was standing in a large prison yard. There were huge walls, such as I had never seen before. They extended for as far as I could see, hundreds of feet high and very thick. There were other fences and razor wire in front of the wall. Every few hundred feet, there were guard towers along the top of the wall, and I could see guards in each one, but they were too far away for me to see much about them. It was very gray, dark, and dreary, which seemed to perfectly reflect the mass of people who stood in the prison yard. All over the yard, people sat in groups of their own kind. Old black men were in one group, young black men in another. Old and young white men also stayed apart, and the women were also separated. With each race, this seemed to be the same. Those with any distinguishing characteristic were separated, except for the youngest children. Between the groups, many people seemed to be milling about. As I watched, I could tell that they were trying to find their own identity by finding the group which they were most like. However, it was obvious that these groups did not let anyone join them easily. As I looked more closely at these people, I could see that they all had deep wounds and many scars from previous wounds. Except for the children, they all seemed to be nearly blind and could only see well enough to stay in their own group. Even within their groups, they were constantly trying to see the differences that others might have. When they found even the smallest difference, they would attack the one who was different. They all seemed hungry, thirsty, and sick. I approached an older man and asked him why they were all in prison. He looked at me in astonishment, declaring emphatically that they were not in prison, and why should I ask such a stupid thing? I pointed out the fences and the guards, and he replied, "What fences? What guards?" He looked at me as if I had insulted him terribly, and I knew that if I asked him anything else, I would be attacked. I asked a young woman the same question and received the same response. I then realized that they were so blind that they could not even see the fences or the guards. These people did not know that they were in prison. The guard. I decided to ask a guard why these people were in prison. As I walked toward the fences, I could see holes in them. They could be easily climbed through. When I reached the wall itself, I found it so irregularly built that it was easy for me to climb. Anyone could easily escape, but no one was trying because they did not know that they were captives. When I got to the top of the wall, I could see for a great distance and saw the sun shining beyond the walls. It did not shine in the prison yard because of the height of the walls and the clouds that hung over it. I saw fires far off in the prison yard toward the end where the children were gathered. The smoke from these fires formed a thick cloud over the yard that turned what would have just been the shade from the walls into a choking, dreary haze. I wondered what was burning. I walked along the top of the wall until I reached the guard post. I was surprised to find a guard dressed in a fine suit with a collar indicating that he was some kind of minister or priest. He was not shocked to see me, and I think he assumed that I was another guard. "Sir, why are these people in prison?" I asked. The question shocked him, and I watched fear and suspicion come over him like a blanket. "What prison?" he replied. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about those people in the prison yard," I said, feeling a strange boldness. "You're obviously a prison guard because you're in the guardhouse. But why are you dressed like that?" I continued. "I'm not a prison guard. I'm a minister of the gospel. I am not their guard, I am their spiritual leader. And this is not a guardhouse, this is the Lord's house. Son, if you think your questions are funny, I'm not laughing." He grabbed his gun and seemed ready to shoot me. Please excuse me for disturbing you," I replied, sensing that he would definitely use his gun. As I walked away, I expected to hear shots at any moment. The man was so insecure, I knew he would shoot before thinking if he felt threatened. I could also tell that he was sincere. He really did not know that he was a guard. The school teacher. I walked along the wall until I felt I was a safe distance away and turned back to look at the minister. He was pacing back and forth in his guardhouse, greatly agitated. I wondered why my questions disturbed him so much. It was obvious that my questions did not open him to see anything differently, but rather made him even more insecure and more deadly. As I walked, I felt the desperation to find out what was going on, and I thought about how I could rephrase my question so as not to offend the next guard I tried to talk to. As I approached the next guardhouse, I was again surprised by the appearance of the guard. It was not another minister, but a young lady who was about 25 years old. Miss, may I ask you some questions?" I inquired.
Certainly. What can I help you with?
She said with a condescending flair.
Are you one of the parents of these children?
No, I responded. I'm a writer, which I somehow knew was the answer I should give her. As I expected, this question got her attention. Not wanting to make the same mistake I had made with the minister by calling what he was standing in a guardhouse, I asked the young lady why she was standing in that place. Her response was immediate, and she seemed surprised that I didn't know.
Well, I'm a school teacher, so don't you think it quite natural that I should be in my school?
So this is your school, I replied, indicating the guardhouse.
Oh, yes. I've been here for 3 years now. I may be here for the rest of my life. I love what I do so much.
This last remark was so mechanical that I thought I would discover something if I pressed her. What do you teach? It must be interesting for you to consider spending the rest of your life doing it.
I teach general science and social studies. It is my job to shape the philosophy and worldview of these young minds. What I teach them will steer them for the rest of their lives. But what do you write?
She inquired. Books, I responded. I write leadership books, anticipating her next question. I also somehow knew that if I said Christian leadership books, our conversation would have ended. She seemed even more interested after this answer.
Leadership is an important subject,
she stated, still with a slightly condescending air.
Changes are happening so quickly that we must have the right leadership tools to steer the changes in the right direction.
What direction is that? I asked.
Toward the prosperity that can only come through peace and security,
she replied, as if she were surprised that I would even ask such a question. Well, I don't mean to offend you, I replied, but I'm interested in your views on this. What do you feel is the best way for this peace and security to be achieved?
Well, through education, of course. We are together on this spaceship Earth, and we have to get along. Through education, we are helping deliver the masses from their caveman tribal mentality to understand that we are all the same and that if we all do our part for society, we will all prosper together.
Well, that's interesting, I replied. But we are not all the same. It is also interesting that all the people down there are becoming even more divided and separated than ever. Do you think it may be time to possibly modify your philosophy a bit? She looked at me in both amazement and agitation, but obviously not because she even considered for a moment that what I said was true.
Sir, are you completely blind? She finally responded.
No, I believe I see quite well, I answered. I have just come from walking among the people and have never seen such division and animosity between different groups of people. It seems to me that the conflict between them is worse than ever. I could tell that my statements were like slaps in the face to this lady. It was as if she could just not believe that someone was even saying these things, much less believing that there was a chance that there might be some truth in them. As I watched her, I could tell that she was so blind she could barely see me. She was in such a high tower that there was no way for her to see the people below. She really did not know what was going on, but sincerely thought she could see everything.
Well, we are changing the world, she said with obvious disdain. We are changing people. If there are still people acting like beasts, such as you described, we will change them too. We will prevail. Mankind will prevail.
That's quite a responsibility for someone so young, I remarked. She bristled even more at that statement, but before she could respond, two women appeared walking toward the door of the guardhouse along the top of the wall. One was a black woman who appeared to be in her 50s, and the other was a well-dressed white woman who was probably in her early 30s. They talked with each other as they walked, and both appeared confident and dignified. I could tell that they could see, which is obviously how they reached the top of the wall. To my surprise, the young school teacher grabbed her gun and stepped outside of the guardhouse to meet them, obviously not wanting these women to get any closer. She greeted them with a very superficial cheerfulness and an obvious air of superiority that she seemed to want to impress on them. To my surprise, the two women became timid and overly respectful to the one who was so much younger.
We've come to ask you about something our children are being taught that we don't understand,
the black woman stated, mustering some courage.
Oh, I'm sure that a lot is now taught that you don't understand,
the teacher replied condescendingly. The woman kept looking at the teacher's gun, which she handled in such a way so that they would constantly be aware of it. I was standing close by, amazed by the whole scene. The teacher turned and looked at me nervously. I could tell that she was afraid I might say something to the woman. As she fingered the gun, she demanded that I leave. The women looked up to see who she was talking with, and I realized that they could not see. The fear had blinded them. I called out to the women, entreating them to have courage and believe what they felt in their heart. They looked in my direction as if they could only hear a noise. They were losing their ability to hear as well. Seeing this, the young teacher smiled. She then aimed her gun at me and blew a whistle. I felt as if she perceived me to be the most dangerous person alive. I knew that I could not wait around for whoever she called with her whistle. I also realized that if I just stepped back a little, I would be safe because the young teacher was so blind. I was right. I walked away with her screaming, blowing the whistle, and finally becoming so enraged that she began to shoot at the two women. As I stood on top of the wall between the two guard posts, wondering about all this, I felt the presence of wisdom. You must return to the prison yard. I will be with you. Know that you have the vision to escape any trap or weapon. Only remember that fear can blind you. As you walk in the faith that I am with you, you will always see the way to go. You must also be careful to only reveal your vision to those whom I lead you. Vision is what the guards fear the most. I know you want to ask me a lot of questions, but they will be better answered by the experiences you will have there.
Chapter 7. The Young Apostle.
I climbed down and began to walk through the yard. As I passed by the prisoners, they seemed almost completely disinterested in me or all the commotion on the wall. I then remembered that they could not see that far. A young black man stepped into my path and looked at me with bright, inquisitive eyes. "Who are you?" we both said at the same time. As we stood looking at each other, he finally said, "My name is Stephen. I can see. What else do you want to know about me that you don't already know?" "How could I know anything else about you?" I inquired. "The one who helped me to see said that one day others would come who were not prisoners. They would also be able to see, and they would tell us who we are and how to escape from this prison." I started to protest that I did not know who he was, when I remembered that wisdom had told me about those whom I would meet when I passed through the next door. "I do know you, and I know some things about you," I acknowledged. "But I confess that this is the weirdest prison I had ever seen." "But this is the only prison," he protested. "Well, how do you know that if you've been here all your life?" I asked. "The one who helped me to see told me that this was the only one. He said that every soul who had ever been in prison was held captive here. He always told me the truth, so I believed this." "Who is the one who helped you to see?" I asked, not only wanting to know who had helped him to see, but also interested in how this was the prison that held every soul captive. He never told me his real name, but he called himself Wisdom. Wisdom? What did he look like? I questioned. He was a young black athlete. He could see better than anyone and seemed to know everyone here. It is strange, though. I have met others here who said they have also met Wisdom, but they all described him differently. Some said that he was white, and others said that he was a woman. Unless there are many Wisdoms, he is a master of disguise. Can you take me to him? I asked. I would, but I have not seen him for a long time. I'm afraid that he has left, or maybe even died. I have become very discouraged since he departed. My vision even started getting worse until I saw you. As soon as I saw you, I knew everything he told me was true. He said that you knew him, too, so why are you asking me so much about him? I do know him, and be encouraged, your friend is not dead. I will tell you his real name. But first, I must ask you a few questions. Well, I know that you can be trusted, and I know that you and others like you who are coming will want to meet everyone who can see, and I can take you to some of them. I also know that you and the others are coming to help a lot of these other prisoners to see. But I'm surprised by one thing, though. What's that? You're white. I never thought that the ones who came to help us see and be set free would be white. I'm sure that there are many others coming who are not white, I responded. I can tell that you already have considerable vision, so I know you can understand what I am about to tell you. The value of vision. As I looked at Stefan to be sure he was listening, I was moved by how open and teachable he was, in striking contrast to the teacher who had been about his same age. This man will be a true teacher, I thought, as I continued. When we get to the place of ultimate vision, we will not judge people by the color of their skin, gender, or age. We will not judge others by appearances, but after the Spirit. Well, that sounds like what our teacher used to tell us, Stefan responded, a little surprised. There is a difference, though, I continued. They tried to make you think that we are all alike, but we were all created different for a reason. True peace will only come when we respect the distinctions we have. When we really know who we are, we will never be threatened by those who are different. When we are free to show those who are different from us honor and respect, always seeking to learn from one another, just as you are now doing with me. I understand, Stephen replied. I hope I didn't offend you by saying I was surprised that you were white. No, I was not offended. I understand. I am encouraged that you were able to recognize me in spite of the color of my skin. But remember, every time we open our hearts to learn from those who are different, our vision will increase. Your eyes are already brighter than when we first met. I was just thinking about how quickly my vision is being restored, Stefan remarked. I now know why I am here, I added. You must keep in mind that your vision is the most valuable possession. Every day you must do that which will help increase your vision. Stay away from the people and things that will make you lose your vision. Yes, like getting discouraged. Exactly. Discouragement is usually the beginning of the loss of vision, I said. To accomplish our purpose, we must resist discouragement in any form. Discouragement blinds. When I began to see, I started to feel that I had a purpose, maybe even an important one, Stephen continued. Can you help me know what my purpose is? Yes, I think I can. To know our purpose is one of the greatest ways that our vision grows. It is also one of the greatest defenses against things like discouragement, which destroys vision. I think my main purpose here is to help you and the others whose vision is being restored to know their purpose. But first, we need to talk about something even more important. Buried treasure. When Stefan spoke, I could hear the voice of wisdom, so I knew that this young man had been taught by the Lord. I also know that he did not know the Lord's name. and would have difficulty believing that wisdom's name was Jesus. I knew that I would need wisdom just to share the name of wisdom. I thought about the apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers that wisdom said I would meet when I went through that door. I never dreamed that I would meet them in a place like this. As I looked out over the great mass of people, I felt his presence. He was with me, and even in the gloom of this terrible prison, excitement was welling up in me. This is what I'd been prepared for, I thought. Stefan, what do you see when you look at this great mass of people? I asked.
I see confusion, despair, bitterness, hatred. I see darkness, he replied.
That is certainly true. But look again with the eyes of your heart. Use your vision, I responded. He looked for a long time, and then said with some hesitation,
I now see a great field with buried treasure in it. The treasure is everywhere, and in almost every form.
That is right, I responded. That is also a revelation of your purpose. You are a treasure hunter. Some of the greatest souls who ever lived are trapped here, and you will help find them and set them free.
But how will I find them, and how will I set them free when I am not even free?
You already know how to find them, but it is true that you will not be able to set them free until you are free. That is your next lesson. You must also remember that you will always know your purpose in a situation by seeing with the eyes of your heart. What you see from your inmost being will always reveal your purpose.
Is that how you knew I was to be a treasure hunter?
Yes, but you must be free before you can become who you are created to be. Why haven't you escaped through those holes in the fence? I asked.
When I first began to see, I saw the fence and the wall. I also saw holes in the fence and had gone through them. When I got to the wall, I tried several times to climb it, but fear would overcome me because I'm afraid of heights. I also thought that if I got over the wall, I'd be shot.
Those guards can't see nearly as well as you think, I replied. They are almost as blind as the people here. This seemed to really surprise Stefan, but I could also tell that it opened his eyes even more. Can you see to the top of the wall? I asked.
Yes, I can see it from here.
I want you to remember this, I continued. I have now been in many places. Call them different worlds or realms, if you will. There is one important principle that I have found to be true in almost every place, and you must remember it for the rest of your life.
What is it?
You can always go as far as you can see. If you can see the top of the wall, you can get there. When you get to the top of the wall, you'll be able to see, and able to see farther than you ever have seen before. You must keep going for as far as you can see. Never stop as long as you can still see farther.
I understand,
he replied.
But I'm still afraid to climb the wall. It's so high. Is it safe?
I will not lie to you and tell you that it is safe. But I know that it is much more dangerous not to climb it. If you do not use your vision by walking in what you see, you will lose it, and then you will perish here.
How will I seek out the treasure that is here if I leave?
That is a good question, but is also one which keeps many from fulfilling their purpose. I can only tell you now that you have a great journey you must complete first. At the end of your journey, you will find a door leading you back to this prison, just as I have found. When you return, your vision will be so great that they will never be able to trap you here again. Your vision will also be great enough to see the treasure that is here.